Have you ever had one of those moments where your brain just completely short circuits? A moment so embarrassing, so cringy, that you wish the ground would just swallow you whole. But then something strange happens, and that moment becomes kind of amazing. I want to tell you about one of those times. It's a story about a girl, a compliment, and a fish that wasn't there. It all started on a perfectly normal Tuesday. The sun was shining, birds were singing, the kind of day where nothing could possibly go wrong. I was at this little local art fair, just browsing, minding my own business. I've always loved these kinds of events. The creativity is just buzzing in the air. You see all sorts of interesting people, and there's usually some really good food truck coffee involved. I was looking at this abstract painting, trying to figure out if it was a sunset or a plate of spaghetti, when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned around, and there she was. She had this incredibly warm smile, the kind that makes you feel like you've known her for years. Her eyes were bright, and she was wearing this cool RC jacket. She was basically the human embodiment of the art fair itself. I probably just stood there staring for a second too long because she giggled a little. Then she said something. It was soft, almost a whisper, but her smile made it feel like the most important thing in the world. She said, "You have a nice aura." Now, in a normal world, my brain would have processed that. I would have said, "Oh, thank you," or something equally normal and socially acceptable. But this was not a normal world. This was the world where my brain decides to take a vacation at the most inconvenient times. So, what did my brain hear instead of, "You have a nice aura"? It heard, with absolute undeniable certainty, "You have a nice tuna." Yes, tuna. The fish. My mind immediately started racing. Tuna? Why is she talking about tuna? Am I holding a can of tuna? I quickly glanced at my hands. Nope, just my phone and a half-eaten pretzel. Did I smell like tuna? I subtly tried to sniff my own shirt. Nothing. Maybe I had a stain on my shirt that looked like a tuna? I did a quick scan. No, just that little bit of mustard from lunch. All of this happened in about 2 seconds. 2 seconds of pure, unadulterated panic. She was still standing there, smiling, waiting for a response. My social programming kicked in, telling me, "Say something. Anything! Don't just stand there like a statue that smells faintly of fish." I had to act cool. I had to play it off. Obviously, there was some context I was missing. Maybe it was an inside joke at the art fair. Maybe tuna was some new slang for a cool t-shirt. My brain, in its infinite wisdom, discarded all logical possibilities and went with the most direct, literal interpretation. So, I looked her right in the eye, trying to project an air of casual confidence, and I said, "You, huh. I didn't bring any fish today." The words hung in the air between us. Her smile faltered, replaced by a look of complete and utter confusion. She blinked once, then twice. It was like watching a computer trying to process a corrupted file. Her brow furrowed, and she tilted her head. You could almost see the gears turning in her mind. Fish? Did he say fish? And then it happened. It started as a small quiver in her lip, then a little snort, and then she just exploded. She burst out laughing. I'm not talking about a polite little chuckle. This was a full-on deep from the belly laugh. She was laughing so hard, she had to lean against a nearby sculpture for support. Tears were literally streaming down her face. My own face, I'm sure, was a spectacular shade of red. I wanted to turn into a ghost and just float away through the wall. Every fiber of my being was screaming, abort mission. Run, change your name and move to another country. I had just made a complete fool of myself in front of this amazing, smiling girl. My one chance, and I brought up a non-existent fish. But as I stood there, watching her laugh, something shifted. Her laughter wasn't mean or mocking, it was just pure, unrestrained joy. It was so genuine and infectious that, against all odds, the corner of my own mouth started to twitch upwards. The absurdity of the situation hit me. I had just told a stranger that I wasn't carrying any fish. It was objectively hilarious. After what felt like an eternity, she finally managed to catch her breath. She wiped the tears from her eyes and looked at me, still giggling. "I'm so sorry," she gasped, trying to compose herself. I said aura, like your energy. And then it was my turn to feel my brain reboot. Aura. Oh my god, aura. Not tuna. The two words don't even sound that similar. How did I get there? Was I hungry? Was I subconsciously craving a sushi roll? I just buried my face in my hands and let out a groan. "Oh no," I mumbled. "Please just forget this ever happened." She just laughed again, but this time it was softer. "No way," she said, her eyes still sparkling. "I am never, ever forgetting this. That was the best thing that's happened to me all week. And you know what? We actually ended up talking for the rest of the afternoon. We walked around the art fair, and every now and then, she would just look at me and start giggling again. The whole tuna incident became our running joke. It completely broke the ice. There was no awkward small talk, no trying to impress each other. We just skipped straight to the part where we were two people laughing at a ridiculous misunderstanding. Looking back, I still cringe a little bit. But I also wouldn't trade that moment for anything. It was a perfect reminder that sometimes our most embarrassing moments, the ones where we feel like we've completely failed, can lead to the most unexpected and wonderful connections. Her name was Chloe, by the way. And every time I see a can of tuna in the grocery store, I can't help but smile. So, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you say something completely wrong and mortifying, just remember my story. Remember the non-existent fish. Sometimes, the best way to handle a cringe-worthy moment is to just lean into it and laugh along. Because you never know, your tuna moment might just be the start of a great story. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about my awkward life. See you next time.